Questioning everything. Question everything. Question everything. Everything. Sorry. Carly, welcome to the show. Today, we have something really special for you, and I'm just excited about the way this is about to unfold.
Mhm.
So, welcome to the show. Thank you for accepting the invite to a podcast from a guy you just met less than 48 hours ago on Facebook. That's awesome.
Thank you for having me. We had a great conversation that was very short, so a lot of things were in alignment. Yeah.
Definitely that. And especially on the lines of authenticity. So, Carly, help me with your last name. Is it Pepin?
Pepin.
Okay. Carly Pepin is an international speaker and consultant specializing in human behavior. She's based out of Los Angeles, California. She travels to share the powerful message that no matter what your story, your line of work, what part of the world you're from, all people struggle with our own perceived flaws and voids, both personally and professionally, and that's okay. It's how we use that story. Carly's dedicated her life to master and teach how to see beyond the surface and tap into the core essence of an individual, to uncover the deeper roots that prevent them from creating a life that is inspiring and fulfilling. And dare I say that I read on your website that you like to create lives by design rather than default. And I
Yes.
thought that was so beautiful and poetic. And as you talked, or as you said, we had a great conversation before this all happened, and found out that it went from you trying to sell me.
Totally.
Let's be real here. It went from you trying to oh crap, we're doing the same thing,
Yeah,
and here we are.
here we are.
So, welcome to the show again. Thank you for agreeing to meet with the crazy guy that you met less than 48 hours ago, and
Same.
I I want to give you a little background on Question Everything real quick. So, what Question Everything is doing is creating a path to take outliers, outcasts, and catalysts and show them that the power and energy that they try to suppress for other people can be channeled into that leader that they truly are, and in turn, teach others to do the same. My vision is to take these outcasts, outliers, and catalysts and show them at their core what they're capable of by providing a mirror that they can look into, a roadmap they can follow, and a set of principles to live by. Now, there are five principles, core principles that Question Everything stands on. They're courage, integrity, accountability, trust, and authenticity. Keeping these principles in mind as you answer these questions, remember that your authentic story is the value in this interview. So I'm going to start with my question that I love to start with, because relationships are imperative if you want to survive and you want to go far. So, what is a relationship in your life that's inspired, encouraged, or motivated you the most? And how do you nurture that relationship?
It's a beautiful question and something I wholeheartedly agree on. I look back at my life and I see that, present day I have some beautiful relationships that are nurturing me. And in the past, they've been different. But from the day we're born to the present day, it's almost like the universe just brings us the perfect individuals to help us grow. Sometimes a challenger, sometimes supporter. I would
Mm,
say that when I was younger, my family played an incredible integral role in my growth and development. I have parents who are entrepreneurs. And so getting to see them at the beginning stages was huge. I didn't grow up in a family where I had seen someone who had just made it. Like I saw my dad build a business and I saw my mom support on the back end. So I got to go as my dad went from small business to big business. And that was incredibly impactful. I saw the time, the work,
mm,
the energy, and effort, and it was inspiring and something I wanted to dive into. And later on, some of my greatest mentors and relationships became my bosses because, being around that, it's like, I want to learn more about business. And so then it was bosses and things like that. In present day, it's coaches, other consultants, other mentors that are out there that are helping me take the next stages so I could build that business. I could build that vision around what inspires me the most.
mm.
Mhm.
I love that you said that. So, watching dad build something from the ground up and mom support, isn't that the perfect scenario? I mean,
Yeah.
that's like fairy tale right there. That's beautiful.
Amazing.
Not everyone gets to experience that, but in a marriage, I imagine that once you find that, oh, I mean, kind of like my relationship, it's kind of like that. I'm building from the ground up, and wife is supporting. It's something that came from a deep pain. What I was going to ask you though is,
Mhm.
you said that you gravitated towards your bosses.
Yeah.
First it was your parents, then it was your bosses, now it's coaches. Do you find yourself gravitating to people that can help you grow more than people that are on your level?
Yes, 100%. And it's interesting because even the component where you're like, oh, my partner right now, like this is the individual that's helping me the most and helping me grow. My romantic partner is someone that I can see long term, both challenging me to be who I would love to be because everyone doubts it. Everyone's on their path and we all doubt it. So we have that one
Absolutely.
person who's just like, no, 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 don't give up on yourself. And then also, yeah, finding people who inspire you, who it's like we find the people who have what we want so we can learn and learn how to incorporate it in our own way in our own life, not so we can
Mhm.
emulate them, but specifically I love the individuals who are like, hey, this is what I've done, but let's make sure it's your way because I don't want you being me, I still want you to be you. And those are my favorite mentors to work with, hands down.
That sounds like it takes a lot of emotional intelligence to not let the ego get wrapped up and be like, no, you have to do it my way. That is beautiful as well. I love that because I feel like people need to hear that, because tradition and family and routine will keep us trapped in a prison that if we're not careful, and we can box ourselves into a self-imposed prison that we can't get out of, because when you try to rise above your group or your family or who you're around, and if they're not willing to rise to that same challenge, they'll pull you back down. There was something else I was going to say about what you said and it just slipped. It'll come back to me later. It's not important. So in in this journey to where you are now, when would you say was that moment
Mhm.
that made you start questioning everything? Because we all have that moment, whether it's when we realize that life isn't exactly what we thought it was, we find out Santa's not real, or that, our parents and teachers cuss or make mistakes, that kind of thing. And what changed when you did?
Awesome. That's beautiful. I would say I loved asking questions since I was a kid. I love information, and I used to get my mom caught up in sometimes hours of long conversations. Where I just keep saying why, and they would
Mm.
joke about like me and my questions. When it really started to come to like the outside of aha information, but holy crap, something about my life is not what I thought it was I think the biggest one was about 10 years ago when I moved to Australia. And I
Oh,
had
wow.
moved there because uh, I was so depressed. I was so depressed. I was so sad. Life in Los Angeles was not going well for me. And during that time, I just had blamed it on LA. I blamed it on the
Mm.
people. I blamed it on the people, like the experiences, like what LA was all about in my perception. So I was like, I think I'll go to Australia. That sounds smart. I'd been there one time, I loved it, and so I decided to go. When I got there, none of my problems went away, and that's when I ultimately realized like everything comes from within. And then I was stuck in Australia, and I was like, what do I do?
I'm so glad you touched on that because I was looking at your profile and it said lives in, does it say lives in Australia and from LA, right?
I'm living now in Vancouver. I just moved to Vancouver. I'm from Los Angeles, but I've also lived in Australia for a year.
My goodness, that's a
Yes,
giant triangle around this world.
it really is. I don't
How
think
does that
it's good.
feel?
Well, now it's better, but I'm telling you, when you're moving, it's very challenging. It's challenging to move, but once you get there and you get settled, I joke about with some of my clients who love moving. We've noticed that there's a pattern. It's about 3 to 6 months max that you can get settled in a place. Yep.
That is so true
Yeah.
because you can always do it tomorrow, right?
Totally.
Uh, I'm really loving your story as it unfolds, and just for the listeners and the watchers here, we've never talked until maybe what was it, 10 minutes
Yes.
before this podcast started. So we're learning about each other as we go. I love that you said, because what you just said touches on that quote, wherever I go, there I am.
That's
we
beautiful.
we always think that we need something else on the outside of us to go inside of us in order to make us better or happy or feel some type of way, so we change people, places, and things. And again, if we're not careful and we're not awakened, we won't realize that we are also not only our problem but also our solution.
Mhm.
So in all of your questions, would you say that that was your aha moment? And if not, what was it?
The aha moment was definitely realizing something was inside and that it was time to find another solution. And it's amazing because when you open that part of yourself up, it's almost like that perfect opportunity, that perfect person. You draw yourself to it and you see it. It's generally there on a regular basis, but you finally become cognizant that it's right in front of your face. And it's funny because that's when I brought in my first coach. And working with
Mm,
her, I would say I started to get the aha moments around human behavior and understanding why I was doing the things that I was doing, why I was sad, why I was depressed, why I was unhappy in Los Angeles. And it's funny because when you work on all those components and you do the deeper work, you work on all your perceptions, right?
yeah.
When I went back to LA, it's like one of my favorite places in the world. I went back and I was like, oh man, I had so many judgments. Like, I fit here. This place fits me like a glove. And so once all those perceptions and those judgments were shift and all the judgments inside of me, like I could actually go back and enjoy one of the most beautiful cities in the world.
Man,
Mhm.
that is truly a testament to the fact that your perspective, your view of the world can literally change your world.
Yes.
Nothing changed about LA in that
No,
process,
still same.
but there's a, I don't know if you know Dr. Wayne Dyer, but
Yes.
he was talking to a lady and she said, I want to move to your city. What's it like there? And he's like, well, what's it like in your city? Oh, it's awful. There's no support. I hate it here. I just want to get away. He's like, well, that's what you'll find here. And then another lady asked him what it's like in a city. And he's like, well, what's it like in your city? And she's like, oh, it's great. It's loving. It's supportive. I don't really want to leave. He's like, well, that's what you'll get here. And the
Yeah.
moral of that story was no matter where you go, there you are. So I'm curious. Not many people start their journey in just straight entrepreneurship and take that leap. There's a lot of people working 9 to 5 corporate or in a dead end job or knowing that there's something else inside of them, right?
Mhm.
That is, they don't know what it is, but they know that they don't want to be where they are.
Mhm.
They either haven't taken that leap, they're thinking about it. Did you just do you think that
Mhm.
being raised by an entrepreneur inspired you to be an entrepreneur and gave you that courage that it took? Or did you have a, sorry, or
I
did you have a regular job at some point?
I had the very interesting journey when it came to jumping into entrepreneurship. I definitely at first decided I was going to take the leap, right? So I
Yeah.
quit my job and I was like, I'm going to take the leap and I'm going to go for it. And what I learned is that there's a couple components. We have fantasies. We
Mm,
definitely have fantasies of what we perceive is meant to happen in regards to like entrepreneurship.
yeah.
People sell you this idea that you could just quit your job and start working right away. That is not the case. Like, man, I'm learning about marketing, I learn about sales, I learn about all these different things in the back end and tech. Like, I've
Yeah.
just all this tech that I've learned as a result of like jumping out and going out on my own. It's phenomenal. These are all the things that nobody tells you, and the time and the practice that goes into speaking, talking, posting, understanding your audience, like all these components. I mean, like hours and decades of studying. And so when you don't have that information and you just dive out in the world thinking, oh, entrepreneurship, everyone says you can make it. You're like, oh, fail.
Absolutely. Yes.
I got
I
scammed.
I can 100%, 110% relate to that.
Yep.
Luckily, just like you, I love information, so I'm always trying to learn. Now, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have wanted to do anything like this. I didn't want to be seen on camera or heard, my voice heard, just none
Yeah.
of that. It's weird. No, people are going to
Takes
judge me.
time,
Yeah, well, yeah, and it
right?
takes time. But
Yeah.
through all
Mhm.
through all that we learn in our journey in life,
Mhm.
it ends up being exactly what we need for the next level or the next
Yes.
endeavor.
Yeah.
And I love what you said in your Facebook post today. You said, "So what does loving negativity look like?
Mhm.
This is real gratitude, which when you nail this, you get a tear of inspiration for experiencing negativity."
Mhm.
That's right. A tear of inspiration for what you once labeled as negativity. This is 100% possible. You no longer feel disempowered by it, no longer have to control your environment to avoid negative thoughts, actions, experiences, or people. You have freedom from exhaustion of trying to avoid the unavoidable, which is life and both its positive and negative qualities. That is absolute, complete surrender and acceptance at the core.
Yeah.
And that is beautiful. Could you speak to that? What inspired that post?
Yeah, what inspired it is the people that I work with is what inspire it. I'm working with an individual who, like, one person is like trying to get rid of their fear, right?
Mm,
And fear is what they're considering negative thinking and negative thoughts. But when you dive into your fearful thoughts, your fearful thoughts are feedback from your intuition that something's up, and it could be something that you can work on, but sometimes like it's authentically like something to listen to. Like there could be something going on with your body. You could be traveling to another country, and sometimes if you have a fear about it, good, there's certain countries that it's wise to go look up travel advisories before you go. And so it's
yeah.
like fear plays a genuine role. And so we're trying to get rid of all these negative thoughts, these fears inside ourselves, not having gratitude for what they actually give us. And again, sometimes there are like negative thoughts and components that we can do deeper work on. Like if you have, well, fears of speaking, right? Fear of going out there and speaking. There are components that we can definitely dive in and work on those. But to try to get rid of a part of us that innately helps us function in a day to day life. I mean, working with some of these people, I'm like, oh, I was like, literally one of them has indigestion. Every time she gets stressed out, she has indigestion, and she's got one person over there telling her, well, if she doesn't stop having fear, she's not going to get rid of her indigestion. And I'm just working on having her love the fear. And at the end of the call, she's like, oh, since talking to you, my indigestion actually went away because the stress is gone, and she's okay with having the fear, and she sees the purpose of it. And that's the gratitude. That's the moment where I'm
Mm,
grateful for having something. I don't need to get rid of a part of myself. And therefore, it's no longer going to overpower her and impact her and cause a physical reaction in her body. And it doesn't even happen physically as well. Like when we think about this gratitude of negativity, right? My experience with LA is a great example. Like here
yes.
I am running from a city and a country because I perceive that individuals there are a certain way, a certain form of negativity that I dislike, right?
Mm,
And so I'm actually running from an entire country because it's having that big of an impact on me. When I had
mm.
gratitude for what it was, I could go back and experience the same people with genuine unconditional love and experience them in a whole way. Because the minute I stopped judging them for their negativity and realized they're just people on a path trying to get their life and work done, I was like, damn, you guys are also kind of amazing. And I can't believe that I missed out on these opportunities because of all of these judgments I had. So it's quite spectacular. Like when we have that gratitude, we don't even get impacted by it anymore. And it opens doors to a degree you can't even fathom.
Absolutely. That is so inspiring. And I know the word of the year this year for me has been authenticity. And just seeing what you're doing and hearing the story behind this, I can relate. You do get emotionally involved with your clients because you want to see them win. You
Yeah.
want to see people get the breakthroughs. And if only we clung to gratitude more often,
Mhm.
we would see the balance. I mean, it's like the yin and the yang, or the yin and the yang, as it's really pronounced. It's not balanced if there is all negative or all positive. It'd just be a black dot with a white dot in it, or a white dot with or a white circle with a black. dot in it, and that's not pretty. It's beautiful
Yeah.
the way it is. It's life, right?
Yeah.
So in all of this that you do and all that you've done as a serial entrepreneur, how do you find balance in all of the chaos? Because I know there has to be some sort of chaos either in the mind or in reality.
Both.
And was there, I don't want to say was there any fear you had to overcome,
Mhm.
but were there blockers? Were there things that were trying to stop you from leaping?
Yes. So there's a significant quantity of internal judgments, of internal chaos that goes on that, hold us back from actually stepping into not just entrepreneurship, but when I think of entrepreneurship, I think of what would you love to do? How could your vocation become your vacation so that even if you have an off day,
That's nice.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you have an off day, how could you still be inspired to show up and do the thing that you love? Like that's the thing that I love to help people connect with, because our reality is, as opposed to like waiting for that paycheck, even as an entrepreneur, like waiting to get paid, waiting to make the money, being like, oh, I have to do this with so and so today. It's like, oh man, I had a really crappy day yesterday, but I get to talk to these people tomorrow. I'm so looking forward to it. Like that's what I think of when I think of entrepreneurship. So when we dive into that component, it's like that's not an easy path. That's also not an easy path, because that path of authenticity that you're talking about, so grateful that you have a podcast around it, by the way. It's one of the most important things in my perception. um,
Thank
so
you.
that, yeah, that dynamic of authenticity is this long-term journey. It's a
Mm,
journey of discovering ourselves step by step. And as you said, it's like we're not just first we're going and we're saying, I'm gonna disconnect from these perceptions of my family, and then we're like, I'm gonna disconnect from the perceptions of my social and my community, and I want to tap into who I am, not who they are and what I think I should be around them.
right.
And then it's like you dive into your city and your state and then your country, until you can eventually get to that state where it's globally. You're not subordinating to individuals, like on that global level where you see yourself as that equal with everyone around you. And in that state of authenticity, that's where your greater, grander vision comes forward. That is challenging to get to, because to
Yes.
get to that state, you've mentioned this, we talked about this, the problem, the solution is in the problem. That
Yes.
very challenge and the chaos that you're facing present day actually has a message inside for you that's trying to get you more authentic. The universe is designed to get you authentic. It's designed to get you on purpose. It's amazing, but it's not designed to do it in a nice way. It's designed to give you subtle hints. And if you're not paying attention, it's designed to slam you with crazy chaos, crazy challenges, internal and external, to make sure that you get out there and live your inspired life. And so as we go through it, it's like you do the work, you do the personal development. And you and I both know this. It's not just about doing it all yourself, it's
Yeah.
going out there and getting help, because one of the hardest things is sometimes reflecting on the problem within us, because guess what, we're attached to the story and we believe it so much that we often can't get ourselves out of the biggest stories that we have.
Absolutely. I see that a lot. I've been getting a lot of pushback in my posts lately.
Mhm.
And so, real quick, touching on that, you said, I just went blank. It's happening a lot. So, let's just go on the path I was going
Okay.
here. So, being trapped in that story because we can't see ourselves coming, essentially, and needing community in order to find ourselves, which is just like that's what it was. You said sometimes life gently hints and other times it slaps you in the face, right? But either way, it's not going to let you go without becoming the you that you're meant to be for this world. Me and my daughter were talking about this earlier. If you are comparing your highlight reel or your blooper reel to other people's highlight reel, you are never genuinely being who you are because you're trying to be someone else, and in doing that, You are robbing this world of exactly who you are meant to be. There's people with your name written across their forehead that you're the only one that can get that message out to them. You're the only one that can show them how to get out of that story that they keep telling themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, pain seems to be the biggest motivator for me. We do things out of one or two reasons, right? Fear or love. Either a desire to get pleasure or a need to escape pain, right? I love that authenticity is such a core principle in what you do, because what we need is a world. And it was a podcast a few episodes back I did with a lady, Rebecca Hedges. She said that her quote was by, I want to say it was Howard Thurman. I don't remember exactly what the quote was, but in essence it said, yeah, I don't remember, but the the overview of it was that what we need is a world full of people that have had their awakening, or that have woken up. I feel like I'm not doing this quote justice. Um, let me, okay, here it is. Yes, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive.
Yes, I love that.
Right?
Yes.
That was my first time hearing that. And this guy's been along or around since 1899.
It's
Okay.
beautiful.
He was around back in 1899. He's no longer around. I just learned that today. I was today years old when I learned that. Thank you, Google. So I'm seeing that authenticity is very important to you. Why is it important? And do you always hit the mark, or do you have your off days?
Oh, I have so many off days. I have off days and on days because we're human. We're human. And I think this is one of the beautiful parts about being authentic is that I'm not looking to be authentic and on it every day. I actually want to be the best human being I can possibly be. And what I've learned, it's like you said, like sometimes you're driven by fear and sometimes you're driven by inspiration. And we have both sides as human beings, and we're trying to get rid of one side because we don't like it. And we're just seeking the other side, all the things that we seem are good or positive, without realizing like we're just human. Everyone has it. And since we can't get rid of it, it must have a purpose. And it's like, okay, cool. If it has a purpose, I want to be the best human being I can possibly be and use all parts of myself. I want to use my off days. I want to use my on days. And I want to know that that's actually part of my long term plan and purpose. Because I know that you mentioned this in your way as well, where it's like, even on that entrepreneurship journey, when we have those ups and downs, you saw, like you're seeing now, I needed those downs to get me these specific things that I have today. And that's part of the journey. And so it's like those off days are technically on days, in a sense, because they're getting us somewhere. And you could even think about it and you're like, well, if I don't have those on day or off days and I only have all on days, then I missed out on that lesson, which means an on day is also technically an off day.
Oh,
Technically. And it's to realize that every day is just a day. It's just a day. And when you're not in judgment for how you spend your days, you are actually feeling fulfilled every day. And when you were saying about your daughter and comparing to the highlight reel, it's not about comparing to the highlight reel of my life or your life or anyone you admire. If you have every day and you say, I'm having an off day, how does this serve my ultimate purpose? And you can see it, you'll realize that your on day was your off day. Or sorry, your off day was your on day. And even on your on day, when you're like, what lesson did I miss out on because I didn't have like an off day? You're like, oh crap, because that was really cool. I could go through that challenge again.
wow.
Mhm.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
Again, acceptance, right? Taking the good with the bad.
people's lives are truly magnificent the way they are.
Mm,
It's with personal development, and it's funny because I love personal development and I am a coach and consultant. It's what I do. I help people to grow. But the reality of what I do is I'm not actually trying to change them, and I'm not telling them that they're going to be a better person. I'm helping them to see they're magnificent the way they are, and that no matter what you're doing, you're worthy of love, what you've done or not done. And in that component, in that state, that's when the authentic you shines through, without the judgments, without the brain noise. And we don't get that all the time because
right.
we move through our levels of judgments. Once you clear that one judgment, guess what? You get to graduate to like your next stage and your next level of self-judgment. And every time you do, you get more insights on who you are and what you want to be in the world. So it's like that's the best journey that you could ever be on, that ebb and flow.
It really is. It's like peeling an onion, and
Yes,
every time you peel a new layer, there's crusty skin that has to fall off. It stinks and it makes you cry.
totally.
Sound
Totally.
familiar?
Yes. Really. And I haven't heard the crying component yet, but now I'm like, oh, the onion allegory makes so much more sense.
Right? And then
Yeah.
what is the metaphor here for the running water that keeps you from crying while you're cutting the onion? What is that?
Oh, well, if you just let yourself cry, I don't know. It's just if you just let it flow, maybe let the tears flow, and it's not that big of a deal anymore. Just know that there's a purpose for it. Because again, there's a purpose for the tears with the onion. Like it's physically causing your body to be like, something not cool is going on. My eyes are burning and I need to water up. Like something's happening. Yeah, that's your body being a genius.
It really is.
It really
And
is.
there was something I posted about anxiety a while back, and there was something about something that someone posted about. Well, first off, they thought I was insensitive about it, anxiety, because I posted something someone else said,
Yeah.
and I mean I agreed with it because I resonate with it. But not everyone has that same experience with anxiety, and feelings, emotions, stress can hide themselves in the body and like literally have physical effects on you, and
Yes.
you got to work that out. But do you work the anxiety out, or do you work the body out? I feel like it's you have to remove the root of the problem, and everything else takes care of itself. But I was going somewhere with this. It's an off day. What is this day trying to teach me, right?
It's kind of perfect though. I love the way our conversation is flowing.
I told
It's like an
I
on day in a sense.
right, right. It, I just knew
Yeah.
from when we started talking that our conversation, our show, our
Mm,
was going to bring some sort of revelation, and you are dropping absolute nuggets of wisdom here. If this is anything like what your coaching practice entails, you are going to make an impact in this world. You're going to make ripples. You already are.
mm,
It's amazing.
yeah.
Now, I know we all have a mantra, a quote, or a saying that changes our lives forever. Mine
Mm,
was do one thing every day that scares you, Eleanor Roosevelt. And
yep.
as I ventured out to eat by myself, walk in front of other people,
Mm,
talk in front of other people, record my music, get on stage, rap in front of other people, wait tables without worrying about walking in front of another table. Like
mhm,
it's there was so much fear plaguing me, and I didn't even realize that that sticker at that moment, it was a
mhm.
bumper sticker. I put it on my car. At that moment, it made me realize how much fear I was living in, and I was actually in recovery at the time. So through practicing one thing every day that scared me, I grew by leaps and bounds because I was I was showing myself how much courage was just in there. And it wasn't that the fear left. The fear was still there. The fear is still there now. We talked about this before I started recording. Oh my God, I'm nervous. Where does that come from, right?
Yeah.
It's trying to teach us something. Nerves are good. They let you know you're alive, right?
Yeah.
That quote had an evolution with me, and it turned into if anything scares you, You
Mm.
have to face it head on so that nothing stands in your way.
Yeah.
If you can face your greatest fear, everything else is a cakewalk.
Mhm.
Part of the reason why I like to do cold showers, and when I don't have a cold shower in the morning, I kind of feel lazy, right? But if you can jump in a cold shower on the count of three, like three, two, one, let's go. Oh my God, that's cold.
It's just something.
Everything, yeah, everything else during the day is nothing compared to that, right?
Yeah.
So, is there a question, quote, or saying
Mm.
that's inspired you along your journey?
Yeah. Uh, yes, there's been a few. One that I'd really love to share is John D Martini. I love him. And with him, he said, no matter what you've done or not done in your life, you're worthy of love. You're worthy of love.
Oh,
And not only does that go for ourselves, but it also goes for other people, because one of the biggest
grace.
challenges, yeah, that I work with people are judgments on themselves, also judgments with others. Sometimes our judgments with others are just as detrimental as the judgments on ourselves. And so when we dive in and it's like, well, how do I have certainty that I'm worthy of love no matter what I've done? Because when we have that certainty, we become more deserving in our life. We become more deserving of health, wealth in all forms. When we
Not
think
just
about wealth,
monetarily.
yeah, like it's also
Yeah.
relationships, because there was a time when I perceived myself in such a way that I thought it would be better for people to be without me, right? To like
Mm,
disconnect from friends. And it's like when you go and you do this work, like you dive in and you do the work on yourself, you realize that you're worthy of love. You stop disconnecting from people who love you. You stop saying, I'm not worth that paycheck or the dollar amount. Like it transforms you in a phenomenal way. You say my message is worthy to be in the world. And it's like you said, you don't want to compare yourself to the highlight reel, because often it's like that highlight reel of a guru or someone who's out there, and maybe they are saying like my life is great, I do this and I do that. Well, what happened in the background? Like when did you yell at your kids? Because anyone who has kids, if you pretend you don't yell at them, you're just lying to me. Like 100%, I know you're a liar. Like I know.
I love that you said that because that
I
is
did.
everything else can be going just fine.
Yes.
And I have it in my head how
Yeah.
I want to handle the situation, but
And
the
then life gets
emotion
there.
comes in
Yes.
and I blow up and then I'm left in the wake. Everyone's left in the wake of the yelling and you're like, what just happened here? Like I visualize this going differently and I
Yeah.
still snapped.
And I still snap, and that's normal. So it's like when people sell us this fantasy, like I don't snap and I'm perfect all the time. I'm like BS. Not only do I know you snap, but I actually am more interested in when you did snap. How'd you work on yourself after that? Were you really guilty? I feel
Oh.
so guilty. Can you help me understand like the purpose of this whole scenario so I don't just sit here and beat myself up for the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, decades down the line? And so that's the really
Mm,
important component, like with that one quote that just really nails
mm,
me and life in general, because I don't expect any person out there to not be happy and sad, to not be peaceful, but also like kind of warful sometimes. I don't expect everyone to be honest with me all the time. I expect sometimes people to lie. There's a purpose and there's a reason why people lie sometimes.
yeah.
And there's a purpose for being honest, and both serve a purpose. So it's like if
Mm,
we're going to go out and we're going to be these people because it's necessary for our human existence, I want to make sure that I can assist people and even self, right?
yeah.
So I can work with people to make sure that we clear that guilt and shame within that holds us back from thinking that we can't do something because of this. Where the reality is you can do it because of that period. That's
In
why you can
spite
do
of.
it. Yeah, not like in spite of, like you're gonna do it again. You'll do it again tomorrow. You'll do it again next week. And I want you to know that that's also important for you,
Mm,
for the people that you're connecting with, for your journey.
mm.
Mhm.
You're inspiring me. I don't think you realize this.
Awesome.
I'm coming out of a funk of four
Yeah.
months of beating myself up for not being perfect and not wanting to show certain parts and wanting it to look perfect. I hired my friend Joe Wardrop. He's a visual content strategist,
Mm.
videographer, and he made my course look so beautiful in the
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, that looks great,
Mhm.
But putting yourself on a pedestal like that is just setting yourself up for major failure, right?
Yeah.
I almost like this genuine, authentic. I'm in my bedroom with a screen dividing my bedroom from my
Mhm.
office. It's to touch. Okay, so I remembered something I was going to
Mhm.
say earlier when you talked about us trying to remove things because we don't like the way it feels
Yep.
and needing to embrace it.
Mhm.
Imagine, so I like to think of life as a slingshot, right?
Mhm.
You've got the little handle with the Y on it, and it's got the rubber band. And then you
Mhm.
have whatever it is that you want to launch.
Mhm.
Life is the Y, right?
Yeah.
The rubber band is the pain, the tension, the struggle, the guilt, the shame, the cycle we get stuck in, the I'm not worthy, all the imposter syndrome, right?
Mhm.
Enough of that, and you're in enough pain
Mhm.
to what happens when you let go, right?
Mhm.
And we let go and we launch to the next level.
Yep.
I think we forget that no matter what happens, we're
Mhm.
always going to grow if we continue to push forward, right?
Yes.
And I love that you touched on guilt and shame because I can't tell you how many people, and myself included, get trapped in that cycle. Like you feel guilty, then you feel ashamed, and then
Mhm.
you go back to the behavior or the thing that made you feel guilty and ashamed, and it just perpetuates and feeds itself. But the beautiful
Cycle.
part about, yeah, the beautiful part about this cycle is that just like what you're explaining, right? The good goes with the bad.
Mhm.
You can get a negative perpetual cycle working,
Yeah.
and one 2 to 3 degree turn
Mhm.
in the positive will reinforce positive
Mhm.
results and feelings,
Mhm.
and you'll continue to do positive, and now here we are moving the opposite direction.
Mhm.
It's amazing. It's like mind blowing. These blanks, these
That's
I,
perfect.
I
I
don't know.
No, it's perfect because I actually wanted to add on onto that as well. And I wanted to share some examples too, because when we think about a lot of times it's like the fighting or someone yelling at you or taking you down or putting you down or
Mm,
saying something in some way, shape, and form. So many couples have challenges with that. Individuals with their parents, like I see that happen a lot where they come to me and like, oh, my mom or dad said this or that, or my sister says this, my brother. And a lot of times with couples, when they get in fights, it can be pretty intense and there's a lot of
mm,
things said. Now, one of the most amazing components is like, there's that part of us that wants to get rid of the fighting and doesn't want to feel that pain anymore.
mm,
However, when you dive in and you see the purpose of the fighting, for one, if when someone's taking us down, we usually have ourselves on a pedestal. Like we usually are kind of high about something, and the universe has brought us, I call them agents of the universe, to cut us back down to size. And that's
mm.
humbling, even for myself, because of course I have those moments still. And it's humbling. And in those moments, I'm like, oh, I must be so high on myself right now. Like, whoa, like, where do you have pride right now, Carly? Because the universe is giving you this opportunity to humble you. And I'll see it. I'll be like, wow, I actually think that my way of communication is better, that my way of business is better, that my way of connecting is better in these moments. I could see that I have pride around that. And I've attracted this person to remind me that no, 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 you're still growing, Car. Like you're still growing. So that's one of the components of why we draw in those fights, right? There's the other component. Maybe you're the one on the other end. Maybe you're the humbler in that moment, right? Sometimes we're the
Mm,
individual who's saying those things and taking someone down. They've
mm,
attracted you for the very same reason. They're high on something. They've got to attract this. Like something's going on internally that you're actually showing up to help neutralize it in their life. The other component is, and this is like what happens hands down so many times, is that how many times during a fight are you actually doing some serious reflection about things that you couldn't even think about before? And when you get out of it, you have so many aha moments and realizations as a result. and new ideas on how to transform relationships, new ideas on how to transform communication, new ideas on how to move forward, because the fights bring up the very conversations that are hidden from within. And so without them, we would miss out on a massive quantity of aha moments. And that's like, we don't need to get rid of it, but afterwards, like after a fight, because it's very hard in a fight to think about all this stuff. Very hard.
Right,
Let's
right,
be
right.
real. Let's be real. We're
Yeah.
human. We're human. So most of us reflect on this stuff afterwards.
I
But
am not thinking personal development when my
it's really
adrenaline's
hard.
going.
I try my best, but like I said, I'm a human being, so I just am what I am. So afterwards, it's like I ask myself that question. It's like, well, how did that serve me? What did I
Mm,
learn? What did I get to say? What did I get to speak? What did my partner get to speak? What did he get to say? And when I see this within couples and families, like so many cool things come out of it. And sometimes the cool thing is disconnect, because sometimes it was time for you guys to disconnect, and that's the reality. And you're both been denying it, and this is like the perfect catalyst that like broke the camel's back, like the straw that broke the camel's back.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. It's that it's that snap of the
Yes.
slingshot
Yes.
that takes you to the next level. I totally agree with that. Man, I
Yeah.
love your
Mm,
perspective.
um,
I wanted to go back over that quote.
okay.
I wanted to say it for the people in the back.
Yeah.
It's me. I'm people in the back. No matter what you've done or haven't done, you are worthy of love. You said John.
John D Martini. Yes.
Is that the guy? So I saw you went to a school that is
Yeah.
his.
Yeah, so he's a human behavior specialist, and I'm actually one of his facilitators. So
Mm,
I utilize his method in my consultations and kind of mix it up, and just that's I've kind of transferred into authenticity and purpose and vision, but I definitely mix and match with his method quite frequently, because that is the component, is it's teaching me well also how to help people just love themselves no matter what's happened. Yeah.
wow. Wow.
Mm.
There's something I try to tell people. I'm always motivating. We're always motivating and coaching, no matter where we are. I will talk to a complete stranger and lift them up in the middle of the day. You are worthy. You
Yeah.
are beautiful. You are loved.
Mhm.
Keep being yourself. Keep smiling. Like
Yeah.
if I get off the phone with someone, like a telemarketer or just the customer service agent that
Mm.
helped me and they ask, is there anything else I can help you with? I say, keep smiling.
Mhm.
That's just it. Keep smiling.
Yeah.
Good or bad, job or no job, house or no house, car or no car, be
Mhm.
grateful because it's all a part of the bigger picture, right?
Yes.
Now with his model,
Mm.
do you feel comfortable sharing what that model is?
It's pretty complicated. Yeah, there's a lot of
Nice.
steps. There's a lot of steps, so it's hard to share, but let me do the gist of it,
Okay.
right? So utilizing it, so like when he teaches you, he'll teach you how to transform a challenge, right? So he'll teach you how to utilize the method, and you just transform a challenge, an emotional charge, something that stressed you out, right? So he's going to help you turn your stressings into blessings. And there's specific questions that you can utilize to actually get you from point A to point B. When
Mm,
I use it with clients, I'm utilizing it in a way where I'm trying to understand what your fears are, what your challenges are, what your goals are, and get a deeper idea of what like vision and purpose is. And then whatever those stressors are, I'll dive in and I'll jump around with the method a bit, because he has different columns and stuff. So like in his workshop, this goes in order, but I'll jump around with the method a bit to make sure that we're clearing those charges and shifting perceptions so that the inside changes and the outside starts to mirror that. Like I want the inside to change so the outside can mirror that. And that's the beautiful component, because we have the only things we have control over is our perceptions and our decisions and our actions. That's it. That's all you got in life. That's all you got control of, right? So if you're not taking
absolutely.
yeah, if you're not taking making decisions and taking actions that are actually in alignment with what you would love to do, then there's something in your perceptions that are off. So that's my job, is to go in, find out what's off. I utilize this method to transform your perception so that your decisions and your actions naturally change. So I don't need to be a coach that tells you what to do, because quite frankly, I don't want to do that anyways. Like, I'm not good at that. You do your life, I do my life. You don't want to do anything I do anyways, trust me. You're happier with your problems than you'd ever be with mine and your solutions. But when I can shift those perceptions, those
Yes.
solutions actually naturally come through to you. The decisions and actions start to change. And that's why your life actually changes. It's not magic, it's just you. It's literally
Yeah.
just you, all
You're
inside you this whole time.
you're just
Yeah.
unlocking. I like to tell people all the time, everything you need is already inside of you. Like everything you're looking for, everything you're searching for, it's already there. You don't need anything else. Another thing that Wayne Dyer had said is that we search for information all the time, right? We think that we have to get something from the outside to put inside of us in form, right? In our form. And I learned from, I want to say it was Napoleon Hill or Bob Proctor, that educate actually means, from the Latin word, I think it was the Latin word educo, to deduce or reason from within, to bring from within.
Yeah.
Education, to bring from within. So we're bringing something from within out.
Perfect.
But the school system makes it seem like you have to memorize and test, and if you don't do this and live up to this and get these A's and get in this honor society, then you are nothing. And it messes with our value system. And then really what we're looking for, or what we need, is inspiration in spirit, right? Just
Mhm.
coming from within,
Yeah.
from a divine source. No matter what you call it, there's that source. When you cut everything away, there's principles, laws, and just things that, like gravity, if I drop something, it's always going to fall down.
Yes.
I have yet to drop something and it land on the ceiling, right?
Yeah. Yeah. On Earth, it's gonna go down. And if it doesn't, we have an issue.
Right, like, did we make it to China in digging this hole?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think you realized this when you said this, but perception, decision, action, all that we have control over. PDA.
Yeah. Yeah. PDA. I didn't realize that. It's like a PDA. Funny.
Public display of infection. Yeah, of affection.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I have a course, my coaching program. It's called the Clearly Confident Path, and it follows pretty much the same process. I feel like all coaching is the same process, though, right? we're
Mhm.
we're all feeding them broccoli and veggies. It's just how we're going to season it and what meat we're going to put with it, right?
Yeah. I love that you say that, because when it comes to, man, when it comes to coaching, consulting, when it comes to even being a client, right? There are 100% certain individuals that you gravitate towards.
Mm,
And at the core of everything, well, it's even at the core of religion. If you go back to the root of religion and you read the origins of where religions came from, the most amazing thing that I discovered is that everyone is talking about oneness. Everyone is talking about balance, right? And then all of a sudden, the path shifts and different religions sprout off of these one perceptions and ideas. And it's almost like a different business, right? It's the same with coaching and consulting. We all are actually striving to help individuals grow. But which way do you love doing it the most? Like, this
mm,
is your life. Like, this is actually your life. You don't have to sit and do something because someone told you it's going to work. If it's not working for you, don't do it. Find the person that you resonate with, find the thing that you resonate with, and go after that and go enjoy it. Because it's like personal development. Yeah, it's totally work, but it's not like crazy hard work. It's actually quite enjoyable when you're doing it in a way that you're inspired by. Of course,
yeah,
you're going to bring up your stuff. Of course, you're going to bring up your old pains. But like I said, when you're doing it in a way that you enjoy it with, when you find that right sauce to put on your broccoli, like that's the person like you want to connect with and you want to hang out with, because that's the person that's going to help you actually move through more of your stuff in a way that's
yeah,
inspiring to you.
yeah. when you
Yeah,
when you find the cheddar broccoli and you make the soup.
totally. Totally.
Or if you prefer to sprinkle it on and eat it with salt and pepper,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
floats your boat. So I'm loving this conversation, and we could keep going if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
It just, I I have two more questions,
Okay.
and I kind of don't want it to end. So I'm glad that we've made this connection, because you are now another connection on my journey that
Yeah.
is not only inspiring me just from this last 2, 3 days, but I feel like it's going to be an integral part in my growth. And I know that
Mm,
this episode alone, so much meat packed in it to help people. So
yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that. And with that said, I love questions, but it
Mm.
wasn't always like that. I used to think that questions were a way to trap me,
Mm,
because if I answered questions that my mother asked,
mm,
I got in trouble if I told the truth, and I got in trouble if I lied. So I was scared. Like, which one do I do? I'm wrong either way, right?
mm,
And then my ex wife would ask questions, and she'd already have a direction she was going in with this question.
mm,
And I fell into it every time, right? So questions scarred me. It wasn't until I went to this program called Pathways, and it's a program that pretty much works the 12 steps in a public forum with other people. It's emotional intelligence. It's creating a life by design rather than by default. I think that's actually their tagline. And
mm,
again, we're all doing the same thing, right? But that program did it in a different way. It was like no coddling, no no playing, no answering questions and
mm,
stopping people from having their breakthroughs. It was play hard and raise your hand. So participate in your own life and face your fear.
mm,
But they didn't tell you, like, when you get someone into this program, you can't tell them what they're about to walk into. You just have to tell them, um, I think the question was, what do you want? What's standing in
mm,
your way? Or what do you want? What if you did know? Because everyone says, when you say, what do you want? Everyone says, I don't know. Well, what
mm,
did you have to say in order to say, I don't know? There's two words you had to say. I know. You know. It's already inside of you, right? So I love questions now because I understand the value of questions, how much innovation can come from one question. How, if you give me an answer
mm,
and it doesn't work for me, I can now blame you.
mm,
But if you give me a question and I answer it for myself, now it's mine. And once the question's asked, my subconscious, even if I'm not consciously thinking of it, my subconscious is constantly trying to find the answer to that question. Now, I want to give you an opportunity to tell people, what is the question that you think everyone should be asking themselves?
The question that everyone should be so seriously, the question that helps me the most, and it helps me the most with clients and in life, no joke, it's how what's a better question that I can ask? No joke. Like that's something that happens on a regular basis with me because here's the reality. It's like every person that I talk to is different. Every
Oh,
person, everyone has a different learning style. Everyone has a different like we have different languages, we have different lingo, we have different cultures and backgrounds and I could ask you one specific question. It's like how is anything that you've been through on this journey helped you with your life purpose? I can ask every single person that same question and not everyone can answer it. And so I realized in those moments, it's like asking yourself, how can I ask a better question to get the result that I'm hoping for? Or the answer that I'm hoping for. So it's even with us, right? Like if we keep asking that same question over and over again, because if I said to you, I want everyone to go right now and ask themselves, because this would be highly beneficial in your life in every single challenge that you've ever experienced, I want you to sit down and ask this question until you have tears of gratitude. How has this served me on my life purpose? You know, go do that. Go do that until it's tears of gratitude. Most people aren't going to be able to get tears of gratitude. And it's not because there's something wrong with you, but it's because you need the question asked in a different way. So it's like, how can I ask that question to myself? How can I alter the question to be able to get the answers that I need personally? So it's like, how can I ask better questions? When a question's not working, ask yourself a better question. Don't get stuck in the same thing. Yeah.
I, I was just listening to something where Tony Robbins had said that, but
Yeah.
I mean, we already know. We can listen to a a self-help book, podcast, audiobook, whatever,
Yeah.
and we know it's almost like we know what's coming. Why
Yes.
we even waste our time listening anymore is beyond me, but whatever.
Yes.
So I love that question for several reasons, but I I feel like we are like synced, and
Mm.
some vibration that we're vibrating on just attracted each other from across the world, because
Quantum
that is
entanglement.
seriously.
100%.
So I was just thinking as I'm starting this podcast again, this is probably the fourth episode I've recorded. Now I did 13 episodes from it's almost a year to the day since I started the podcast, and the
Mm.
last one I had done was on imposter syndrome. Then I was like, I'm tired of talking to myself because it's weird. I need to interview people because that that makes more sense. That's what
Totally.
podcasts are for. It's not to talk to yourself. That's weird. You don't get breakthroughs by talking to yourself unless you're asking the right questions. But in doing this,
Mm.
I hate that there's a script,
Mhm.
because like you said, the questions I ask, these
Mhm.
7 8 questions that I ask, are not going to, like, some people won't be able to answer some questions. So I actually altered the script from what it used to be with
Mhm.
you, and it just keeps evolving with every person I interview. And
Mhm.
I'm almost it feels like training wheels, right?
Yeah.
Like my script is the training wheels because I don't believe fully in myself. So
Mhm.
let me go by this script, and as I realize that what I need is already inside of me, the
Yeah.
training wheels just kind of come off, and I ask myself during these shows, how can I ask a better question, because there is an answer inside of you that you need. And if I try to go by a script, I'm missing an opportunity in what you just told me, right? I
Mhm.
study Larry King, and he was a really good listener. He had a chip on his shoulder.
Mhm.
He he listened twice as much as he talked, and he asked really good questions. I want to say that in the interview that they did the day that the tribute, the memorial thing they did for him, it was like, what was what would you say the 5 things are that
Mhm.
made your legacy? And I mean, Oprah, Lewis Howes, like, these people are just facilitating breakthroughs for people
They
and
are.
letting the world see it as it happens. So what's a better question that I can ask? And that, how has this served me on my journey to my purpose? I can see how that would bring a tear of gratitude, but we also come
Yeah.
from a similar background and field. So yeah, we're in tune with that.
Yeah.
Some people have never thought about gratitude. I get
No.
to. I don't have to do anything. I get to.
And like we can intellectualize it as well. We 100% can intellectualize graduate, and I'm going to invite everyone to challenge themselves to take it beyond intellectualization and into an experience, because when you get it, you get it. There are things that I've worked on that I could talk to you about in this moment and start bringing up those tears of inspiration because I have gratitude. I've gotten to that point of just being grateful. That does not go away. That does not
Mm,
go away. And it's the same. The way that I can equate it for people so that they get certainty that they're actually trying to go after this experience is when you watch a movie, you listen to a song, you see something inspiring, and you get a tear of inspiration.
mm,
Same thing. It's the same thing when you get a tear of gratitude. So for the challenge that you've gone through, when you've told yourself and you actually understand to such a degree on how it served you and how it's helped you get in alignment with your purpose, and you get a tear of inspiration for your own life, that's gratitude. That's the experience. And that's what I would love for people to have, because that changes your trajectory. In that moment, the biggest challenge, when you have a tear of inspiration for your biggest challenge that you've ever gone through, guess what? You no longer have fear around that challenge. It no longer runs you. You don't have any brain noise about it. That person
yeah.
who has been running your mind and your subconscious for your whole life, all of a sudden, you have complete freedom from that. And that is why it changes your trajectory.
Mm, that
Yeah.
is really good. That's a great challenge. You know what?
Yes.
If you accept this challenge, I want you to drop in the comment section, I accept this challenge. And then I want to hear about how this changes you.
Mhm.
Gratitude. How can I be grateful? for the good and the bad, but
Mhm.
especially the bad
Yeah,
along
like I
my
said, a
journey.
tier of inspiration for some of the biggest challenges that I've gone through. And you ask that quality question of how it served me. And when you get stuck, because you're going to get stuck because it's hard, how can I ask a better question in this moment to get the answers? You're going to get stuck.
You are. You are.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
because I have such a wide audience, I come from so many different places. So there's so many people from so many different walks of life that
Mhm.
I know. I know what you mean by how does this serve me?
Yeah.
I feel like that needs a little more clarification for the people
Mhm.
that don't really follow self-help or aren't in tune with, I mean, what pretty much is the yogi mentality, right?
Mhm.
What do you mean when you say how does this serve me?
Yeah. So when I'm asking that question, how does it serve you? It's going to those specific challenges that you've been through. And they're challenges of varying degrees. Some people will look and they'll go back to make maybe a smaller challenge, right? Like, oh, I had this problem with my boss and I had this
Mm,
big challenge with my boss. And as a result of that challenge, like I wound up quitting my job and starting my own company. You can stay mad at your boss for the rest of your life, or you could be grateful that that was the catalyst that helped you to go do what you want. So that's a
mm,
small example.
mm.
Bigger examples, when I've worked with individuals on stuff like this, it's like, okay, like I'm had this huge challenge with my mom. Like I watched my mom try to kill herself. Like that. I don't know how to be grateful for. How do I be grateful for that? You could look at
Oh,
that as a challenge or the progression of that individual's life. As a result of that, they're one of the top human behavior specialists in the world. And they can actually take an individual that was in their mom's state and pull them out of depression so that they don't want to kill themselves. And without that very experience, we wouldn't have a master on this planet. Period. And so it's like you could be mad at your mom for the rest of the rest of your life and her life, or you could actually be grateful that you attracted an individual that gave you so much today, that made you the catalyst for so much change. And so that's a choice that you make. You can hold on to that pain and you can hold on to that grudge for the rest of your entire life, and you can hold on to the trauma. Or you can ask yourself the quality questions to realize that everything is on the way. And in that, you become empowered by it. That individual is no longer afraid of working with people like that, and he can tackle that challenge because he doesn't have the trauma, the basically PTSD from that moment anymore, because he's worked through it, right? And that's the importance of it. So it's asking the questions to such a degree and knowing the quality questions to be able to get yourself from point A to point B so that these things don't run you anymore. Because if you let them stay, they run you 100%. They put you in fight or flight mode. You fight or flight from all the things that you fear, and you run towards the fantasy of what you think life should be, and both are detrimental.
can we get a moment of silence for the microphone that she just killed? I almost feel like telling you to say that again, but I know that's going to become a snippet of content.
Yeah.
Just that alone, that right there alone, could help so many people. I can
Mm,
think of three right now in my life.
mm,
And I have to look at that, right? Why can I see that in other people? Like you just said, gratitude, that tier of gratitude for what you've been through, because like we talked about earlier, there's someone with your name written across their forehead that only your life experience, your story, your testimony can get through to them. I don't want to hear from someone that doesn't have something I want or hasn't been through something I've been through.
it's true.
As soon as I find someone that looks like me, identifies with me, and they're in a place that I want to be,
Mhm.
I I get a tear of gratitude. I'm inspired because I know that I too can do that if they did it. I don't know if I want to share what I'm about to say, but I'm just going to do it because, I mean, it's all good, literally, right?
Mhm.
Both of my daughters have been through that traumatic experience that no woman should ever have to live through.
Mhm.
And those experiences can cripple you or empower you, right?
Mhm.
You can become Oprah from them,
Mhm.
or you could be the person that no one ever got to know because you chose
Mhm.
to let it cripple you, to let it kill who you are inside. I love what you said because
Mhm.
not only do you talk about how to get out of victim mentality,
Mhm.
you talk about the benefits and how to do it.
Mhm.
That has inspired me because I'm thinking as you're talking, I'm thinking I've said some things
Mhm.
in pretty harsh ways, and honesty without compassion is cruelty. In the
Mhm.
moment, I can say I really don't give a fuck. But after it's sunk in, after I've thought about it with compassion, with eyes of empathy, I'm like, man, I shouldn't have said that way. I know better. I know better than to put out blanket statements. I know better than to say the things that I say and word them the way I do. I can word the same thing a different way and have a much better impact without offending anyone.
Mhm.
That was deep.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. Oh, this
Mhm.
has been amazing. And I really look forward to talking to you outside of this episode and maybe possibly partnering something. I don't know. There's something that's going to come from it. I don't know what it is, but I'm really excited. I'm grateful.
Mhm. Me too.
I'm just grateful. This it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Thank you for
So,
putting this together. So, yeah, to share these messages with individuals because I appreciate that as well. Yeah, thank you.
it's my pleasure.
Yeah.
Um, what did you call it? Quantum entanglement.
Entanglement. Yes. Our two particles have collided and we've magnetized towards each other.
Have you
I like science a little bit as well. So I like to understand the universe.
have you heard of this book, U Squared?
I haven't. I
So
have.
Bob,
Sounds up my alley.
oh, it is. It is. I'll read you just the front cover. A high velocity formula for multiplying your personal effectiveness in quantum leaps.
That's cool.
I heard Bob Proctor talking about this book and his story behind the book. So he would buy it's only 35 pages. It's terribly short and it's very easy read.
Yeah, that's
Just
cool.
every page looks like that. So he's got a basic title. He's got a
Mhm.
little bit about it, and then an excerpt from this, and then a short story about the title. And
Mhm.
it's just this process of going from U to U squared. Now, Bob's story was he bought so many of these books and given them away that Price Pritchett
Mhm.
actually called him and said, "What are you doing?" Like he couldn't understand it. But helping people get from them to that quantum leap that makes them the true, authentic, genuine person they were meant to be,
Mhm.
that's worth giving away. And that's essentially what all of us as coaches, as mentors, as people should be doing.
Mhm.
Really, it shouldn't be limited to coaches, but
Mhm.
I mean, how much free information have we gotten in our lives that we've never done anything with? I have
Mass.
a yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a hard drive that's full of stuff that I'm gonna read later.
Yep.
I have containers in my garage of books I'll never read
Yeah. Yeah.
because it was free or it came too easy.
Yep. This is true.
So we hire someone for accountability because in the end, that's what we really do. We feed them
Yeah.
broccoli and then we hold them accountable. We watch them chew it.
Yeah, it's true. When you pay for your broccoli, you make sure it doesn't go to waste. And that's our reality. That's our reality. And it's amazing because everything that we talk about is out there in the world. Everything we talk about, there's a couple components. For one, This is a humbling journey for me to learn as well. In the beginning, I was like, oh, everything's for free. I'm going to learn it all. I'm going to do it all. I'm going to figure it all out. Right. And it's true. Everything is out there and there really is everything for free. But it's those blocks that we have with our stories, the stories that we're stuck in that we can't see beyond. I can't tell
Yeah.
you how valuable it is to have someone reflecting to me those challenges and being able to cut through those stories, especially like even in my own coaching sessions with my with my coaches. It's like, help me cut through those stories because I'm so attached to it that I'm actually blind to everything else in this moment. And that is 100% one of the reasons why we hire individuals for help. The second reason is, like you said, if we don't pay for something, we actually don't value it to the same degree. So the information that we give out for free, we do hope out there that it has an impact. But I also know that when you pay for information and that you show up, you're actually going to work way harder than when you actually just get this like free content. And just know that about human behavior and yourself, and you'll give
Yeah.
yourself permission to, like we talked about, sign up for the kind of broccoli topping you're interested in. The one that
Exactly.
inspires you. Yeah.
We can't see ourselves coming, and
Mm.
if you want to know what a person truly values, look at their bank statement, right?
Yes.
Because they
Yeah.
say they don't have the money for what they need or what they
Yeah.
should want or the dream they want to chase, but they got the money for the fast food.
Yes. Your bank statement shows me what's important to you, like 100%. And it's not to judge yourself for it. Definitely don't
No,
judge yourself
no.
for it, but take some like accountability and be like, oh, that's who I am. Can I
Yeah,
love myself for who I am? And
yeah.
can I invest in that self and learn more about that person? Because you're right, we have the money. It's just we choose to spend it somewhere else. Yeah. I
That
don't even
word,
yeah, I
that
don't like to
word.
say I don't have the money. I usually say this with a good friend of mine where we say, instead of saying I don't have the money, I'm like, babe, I'm choosing to invest my finances elsewhere at the moment. Because that's the truth. I have the money to do things, but I really do choose to invest it elsewhere. That's our choice. Yeah.
There is so much power in that statement. Thank you for saying that. I'm going to use that. I choose to invest my money. Say it one more time.
I'm choosing to invest it somewhere else because we'll sit there and we'll be like, I'm broke, I don't have any money. And then it's like, oh, but I did get to buy this, this, and this. So you do have the money, but you're choosing to invest it somewhere else. And so it helps you to realize that you do have wealth, but in your own form. We all
Hmm.
have wealth in our own form. Some of us prefer the monetary, and that's where a wealthy individual comes in. But if you don't actually value the monetary and you value the things, then you're going to have wealth in that form. And not to discount it, you know?
Right, right.
Whole industries and whole ways of life. I mean, talk about beauty, art, everything. Like that's all born off of someone's desire. Our furniture that we sit on is born off of someone's desire to have a lifestyle. And so these are things that serve a purpose in the world. So it's not to judge it, but to realize, hey, that's important to me. And I choose to spend my money on that kid and then ask, how can I monetize it? Second question, how can I monetize it?
That's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
That's question of the century.
Yeah.
How can I turn, what'd you say earlier? How can I turn my vocation into my vacation? I love that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
stuck with me.
Yeah.
And what is the other
Mhm.
quote? Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
It's true. It's so true. It's so true. Yeah. And like you said, you look at your bank account and you know it's important to you. So if you can figure out how to make money off all those things you're spending on, like that's actually part of vacation equals vocation. I can't even tell you, everybody's life and their purpose is just, it's so it's ingrained in everything you do, and you're already tapping into so much of it, but we don't know how to look at it. We don't know how to ask the right questions to ourselves. And it's just so amazing because when I talk to people who are like, oh, I don't know what I want to do, or I don't have my purpose, in our sales call I'm like, 100%, like this is what they want to do, I'm just going to look at the blocks now. Like you can actually start to see it pretty clearly pretty quickly. So it's amazing. We have so much more than we think we do, access to so much more. It's like you said, it's the quality questions. It's learning how to ask those
Yeah.
questions. Yeah.
It's funny. So I thought I was the only one, and I guess this might just be coaches in general, but when I hear someone talking, I
Mhm.
can hear the blocks, I can hear the barriers, and I can see the vision. They can't see it. Like you said, we can't see ourselves coming. We can't see
Yeah.
past the story, the BS that we tell ourselves, and we
Yeah.
end up believing, even
Yeah.
if it's not true,
Yeah.
it's true to us.
This is
And
true.
so your story is
Mhm.
truly inspiring, and I want to have you on the show again.
Okay.
that hands down, I want to follow up in 90 days, maybe 6 months, a year from now, see where you're at, what you're doing. But I'm on my last question now.
Okay.
Who are two people
Mhm.
that you know that are either crushing their goals in life or having
Yeah.
a story as inspiring as yours that you'd like to refer to be on the show?
Um, Gosh, my partner, my fiance, Amr Verk, he's my fiance and he's also one of my business partner. And now you're making me cry. His so inspiring. He's an incredibly inspiring individual.
Oh,
And yeah, the things that he's gone through and the things that he's accomplished and achieved in his vision and how he puts himself out there, it's incredibly inspiring. He loves human behavior. He loves personal development as well. So that individual, yeah, he's definitely up there for me.
and what was his
Definitely.
name?
Amr Verk. Amr Verk. Yes.
Can you spell that for me?
Amar
I
V.
got it.
Yeah, Virk. Nice. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. It's literally spelled like it sounds.
Yeah, so like it sounds. Yeah, so that
Okay.
sounds really spectacular.
So,
Yeah.
fiance, congratulations, by the way.
Yeah,
When
thank
is
you
the
so much.
wedding?
Next year. Next year. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Um,
I have a link I'm going to send you. I proposed to my wife with a flash mob, and it was the
oh,
coolest thing I'd ever done. But it's cool to watch. So I'll send you that
yeah.
link after this.
Okay.
So your fiance, incredibly inspirational person. I love
Yeah.
stories about love because everything that we just talked about, finding
Mhm.
that core, finding that person, digging out the root of the problem that we're trying to cover up or run away from. Once that is fixed, you
Mhm.
don't even have to look for the relationship. The relationship will find you.
Yeah.
Quantum entanglement will bring those atoms together, right?
Yeah.
Or the particles together. Me and Tiffany, my wife, are the epitome of opposites attract.
Yeah.
So
Amazing,
we
isn't it?
it, right? And I never thought that I could get along with someone that didn't understand or vibe or have the
Yeah.
same struggles as me. But it's
Mhm.
actually turning out to be the best relationship I've ever had. My wife is my best friend.
Yeah.
And like everything is complete opposite, but we end up balancing
Mhm.
just like you were talking about. The good, the bad. I happen to be the bad.
Yes.
She's the good. I'm the bad.
We go back and forth, right? We go
Right.
back and
Oh
forth.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a good point because when
We
I'm
go
up,
back and forth.
sometimes she's down and
Yep.
sometimes when she's up, I'm down, but it
Yeah.
always ends up balancing out and evening out. So
It's just beautiful.
it comes for those of you that are looking for a relationship and just can't seem to find one. Find it with yourself first.
100%. I agree with that.
That's where it's
Yeah.
going to come from. So
Yeah.
your fiance, Amarver,
Mhm.
I can't wait to interview him because
Okay.
if you are this awesome, I can only imagine
Yeah, he's cool.
who would be the second person. I'm thinking John D Martini
He
sounds.
he's pretty epic. I have so many people in my brain. The person who's actually standing out the most, where it's funny, like I have so many ideas and individuals, but the one who literally is like a screaming voice in my head is a friend of mine, Linda Avalos. She's also a coach and consultant. And because specifically, when we talk about the authenticity, I've had the opportunity to watch this woman just come into this authenticity in her way, in her form, in her, not just in her business but in her life. And it's been incredibly inspiring to see her growth. Like it's incredibly inspiring. And from, my gosh, like just even what she's done within like a few years, like it's incredibly inspiring to see. And her dedication, like her dedication to pulling that part of herself out and becoming the person that she knows she is, and letting other people become inspired by it, and the service she provides as a result. So she's, yeah, when it comes to authenticity, yeah, that woman is so inspiring. So again, another very inspiring individual and someone I keep very close on my path as well. It's like you said, like we keep very impactful. The people who have the biggest impact for us, we keep the closest to us. So I definitely keep those two individuals very close. Yeah.
I feel a tear
Mhm.
of gratitude welling up right now.
Yeah.
We talked about it. I feel like before we hit record that at some point we were going to cry.
Yep, we both did.
We both did. We both did.
Uh,
And that is the beauty of what we do.
yeah.
So, thank you for coming on today.
Mm.
I'm looking forward to this friendship and relationship
Mhm.
growing. I'm looking forward to interviewing Amar and Linda. If you give them a heads up and send me some way that you need me or that they prefer to be contacted, I'll reach out
I'll
to them.
connect you guys. Yeah.
Everybody, thank you for tuning in. This has been an amazing episode. And if you caught it in the middle, or I don't know, I feel like this needs to be listened to a couple times.
Mhm.
There will be a link to donate in the comments, actually several links. So there's the buy me coffee, buy me lunch, and buy the booth from the other podcast with Rebecca. I rented out a booth. It was great. And then there's the other, let me choose my own interval. And you can
Mhm.
donate if you want to see this go on. Anything is appreciated. Thank
Mhm.
you for tuning in. Until the next time, question everything.